So good afternoon and welcome to the Stock Market Game Spring Prep Week. So I'm Sara Bryant, the Vice President of Regional Programs for the SIFMA Foundation. And I also have the pleasure of serving as the Stock Market Game Coordinator for the states of New York, New Jersey, Colorado, and Florida. So if you are from any of those states, it's good to virtually meet you if we haven't met before. But irrespective of where you're joining us from, I'm really happy to have you join us as part of a growing collective of educators, parents, volunteers, and so many others who are committed to equipping young people for successful financial futures. So SMG Prep Week is meant to equip all of our users with everything needed for a successful launch of the stock market game, and to leave you with a thorough understanding of our programs, how we work, and how you can get started. So let's kick off with an overview of the SIFMA Foundation. So for those of you that may be brand new to us, the SIFMA Foundation is a nonprofit organization. We're committed to addressing income inequality by fostering a greater knowledge of the capital markets and an understanding of personal finance and investing for people of all backgrounds. So we're able to do this through the expertise of educators just like you and the support of the financial services industry. And we've been able to provide more than 22 million students since we began in 1977 with a greater access and understanding of their economic community, and a better understanding of the capital markets. And they've been able to make more informed financial choices, improve their academic achievement, and boost their social emotional learning. So we've made learning about investing easy, accessible, and more than anything, fun. So each year, thousands of teachers and administrators utilize SIFMA Foundation's programs to fill the gap in school curriculum. So they do that with turnkey educational content that helps all of you to confidently teach investing and personal finance. So we have 4 core programs that make up the SIFMA Foundation, and they all work collectively to support and enhance our primary program, which is the stock market game. So today's session is intended to provide both new and existing stock market game advisors with the tools necessary for successful implementation of the stock market game. So over the course of the next 3 days at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll address specific components of the stock market game experience. So today's specific session is going to include an overview of the SIFMA Foundation's program offerings. I'll answer questions about registration, game structure, provide some participation details, some available resources, how do you gauge learning, and of course, we're going to leave some time for questions. One thing I want to make sure to note is that this session will not include any live demos of the portfolio experience. We'll do a deep dive into the portfolio, how it functions, and all things related to getting started during tomorrow's Getting Started session. So let's dive into the stock market game. So for many students in grades 4 through 12, the stock market game, or SMG, is their first exposure to money management and financial decision-making. So stock market game students are tasked with building a successful investment portfolio by investing a hypothetical $100,000 in stocks, bonds, and mutual funds that are found on the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. Because there's no better way to learn about investing than to put yourself in an investor's shoes. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about teaching personal finance and investing with the stock market game is that it requires some prerequisite knowledge of finance, economics, business, or the like. And I'm just here to set the tone that that's absolutely not the case. Whether you are brand new to the world of investing or you have an advanced knowledge of financial instruments, you are more than equipped to utilize the stock market game. So it's aptly suited for educators across disciplines, and whether you are teaching economics and business to high school students, or you're starting out with elementary students, stock market game, and we have the tools for you already embedded in the program. The stock market game is also mapped to national state education standards. It meets the college and career readiness anchors, and it reinforces STEM concepts. Stock market game participants also get the opportunity to learn, analyze, and apply real-world concepts as they learn to research business, current affairs, and finance, equipping them as future investors with knowledge and hands-on experience to guide their participation in our economic system and to make more informed investment decisions. So let's dive right into some of the nitty-gritty. So who can participate in the stock market game? And the answer, very simply, is everyone and anyone. So the stock market game is available to anyone that is looking to advance their understanding of investments with direct, hands-on learning tools and interactive platforms. So although our curriculum is primarily tailored for those in grades 4 through 12, the resources and, of course, our stock market game platform and portfolio can be used by anyone. So prior financial knowledge, as I mentioned, is not necessary. You're not required to be a teacher, a finance guru, or anything else. So the stock market game has been used by teachers across subjects. It's used by parents. It's used by mentors and other volunteer groups, nonprofits, Girl and Boy Scouts, Boys and Girls Clubs, and even adult groups. So there's no limitation in terms of the who. In terms of when you can participate in the stock market game, that will vary. So the stock market game operates within game sessions, also known as game windows. So it will be available in both the fall and spring semesters. There's typically also a year-long academic session that runs throughout the entire academic year, as well as available sessions throughout the summer. How can you participate? The how is one of my favorite questions because, again, it's really anywhere. So the stock market game is uniquely positioned in that anyone can access our materials and our platform completely online across any device as long as there is an active internet connection. So if you can get online, you can access the stock market game to participate, and it's not limited solely to teachers with classes. So if you're a parent, if you are utilizing it as an enrichment activity, it can be an after-school club, it can be utilized with parent and child pairs at home, it can be utilized individually. It's also not limited solely to the classroom or even the young adult or young person population. There are a number of adults that utilize it either on their own or among themselves and make an adult group as well. Where can you register to get started? Getting started begins and ends at stockmarketgame.org. You're going to want to keep that in mind. Stockmarketgame.org is your one-stop shop for everything. It's where you're going to register for the program, where you can find out additional information, where you are going to enter your login credentials, and everything regarding getting started. So let's dive into registration and what that means. Forgive me as my cursor is not working with me at the moment, but we'll keep going anyway. So the stock market game website, stockmarketgame.org, it's where you're able to register for our current or an upcoming game session. You can do that at any time online. There are no limitations to when you can begin registration. Registration is simple. It takes about 5 minutes and you only need to follow the prompts. In the interest of time, we've condensed this session, and instead of walking you through every portion of the registration, it is pretty simple to access. You'll receive a link for our brief tutorial, which is about 3 minutes, on how to register your teams. But I will take the time to provide you with some context when you are going through the registration process. So if you've already registered, that's great. That means you're one step ahead, and we're going to ask that you're just patient with the rest of us. For those of you who have not yet registered, or perhaps you've had some questions during the registration process, I'm going to try and clear up a couple of those. One thing to keep in mind is whether you'd like your students to work individually or you would like them to work in teams. During the registration process, you'll have the opportunity to decide how many portfolios you will need. Each team corresponds to an individual stock market game portfolio. So students can either work individually, managing their own stock market game portfolio, or they can work in groups of 2 to 5, with each group sharing a stock market game portfolio. There's no one size fits all. It really depends on you and how you intend to utilize the program. Across the board, typically our elementary and middle school students and teachers tend to group their students in about teams of around 2 to 5, around to encourage collaborative learning. In high school, a number of our teachers tend to have their students working in smaller groups of either 2 to 3 or managing their own portfolios individually. If you're wondering, okay, I think I want to start with the group, but I'm not sure if that will work, rest assured that we can make adjustments to your portfolio, or rather to your registration, at any point throughout the game session. So if you start out wanting to have your students work in groups, that's totally fine. If at some point throughout the session you notice that one of your groups may be aptly suited to work individually, we can make that adjustment for you. Upon successful registration, you're going to receive a confirmation email that will include your stock market game advisor login credentials. Please know that when I use the term advisor, that's really anyone who is serving in that facilitator capacity. So it's not limited solely to teachers. If you are a mentor and you have a mentee and that's how you're using it, you're the advisor. For parents utilizing it with their child or children, the parent serves as the advisor. Anyone that's going to facilitate the stock market game with a student or group of students is considered a stock market game advisor. These login credentials are unique to a particular game session, and you must use this username and password in order to access the site. So they are 2 unique ones. So the Teacher Support Center, or the Teacher or Advisor ID, gives you access to our online Teacher Support Center, which is our full suite of resources. You'll also receive additional usernames and passwords dependent on how many portfolios you have that allow your students to access our stock market game portfolio. This is where they will make their trades and do a lot of their research and have the opportunity to advance and make their investment decisions. All of this will be available via email, so please make sure during the registration process that you are utilizing an email address that you can receive this information directly. Okay. So can you make adjustments to your class or group size if you've already registered? Absolutely. So if you've registered already, and when you go throughout the process, or even after this session, or at any point throughout this experience, you would like to make some adjustments, whether you want to add a class, whether there has been a change to your student roster where you need more portfolios, you can make those adjustments as well. You just simply need to reach out to your local stock market game coordinator and they can make those adjustments for you. If you still have your username and password from a prior game session, do you still need to re-register? Absolutely. All of our usernames and passwords, both for the teachers and for the students, are unique to a particular game session. So if you're interested in participating in another game session, then yes, you will need to re-register. A small caveat to that is, if you are already registered for a session and you would like your students to also participate within the same game session. So for example, if I'm registered for the year-long session and I have another class that has been added to my roster, and I would like that same class to also participate in the year-long session, there's no need to re-register. Simply reach out to your local coordinator and they can make those adjustments for you to add your class and the number of teams that you'll need. One of the things that you'll also notice during registration, depending on your location, you may see 2 types of game sessions that are available. You may see a competitive game session and you may see a non-competitive game session. Rest assured that they both operate the same way in terms of access to resources, both teachers and students. It's the same level of access to the platform. The only difference between the competitive and non-competitive, or sometimes referred to as an enrichment session, is that those participants of an enrichment or non-competitive division are not eligible for prizes at the end of the game session. That's the only difference. The non-competitive session, a number of teachers utilize them in support of the competitive session. Some new participants opt to begin in a non-competitive division just to get their feet wet and get their students introduced to the session before moving on to a competitive division. But I want to let you know, you don't necessarily have to start with a non-competitive game session in order to jump right in. You can feel free to just get your feet wet right with the competitive division. It won't change your experience at all. So let's dive into some resources. One of the things I believe the SIFMA Foundation team does really well is support teachers and students. So one of the ways that we're able to do that is by deferring to teachers for guidance on how to make the experience even better as education continues to evolve. So with the advice of stock market game teachers, we've been able to enhance our programs and our curriculum to include more student-driven learning. We've simplified access to and distribution of our materials for teachers and other facilitators. We've launched our stock market game teacher Facebook group and teacher mentors for grade level peer-to-peer discussion, idea generation, and best practices. We've increased our attention to parent and guardian-led and alternative and more autonomous instruction. And we're building out our Spanish language curriculum to ensure that even more students have access. So we're going to delve into a few of those resources. So once you receive your username and password for your advisor ID, you can log in at stockmarketgame.org, and this will bring you directly to our Teacher Support Center. Our Teacher Support Center is our one-stop shop that houses all of the resources, including lesson plans, activities, videos, calendars, and more. So whether you're logging in for your first game session or it's your 50th game session, I still encourage all of our users to take a look around, as the Teacher Support Center has gotten a little bit of a refresh, so to make navigation a little bit easier. But rest assured that all of the resources that you've come to know and love are still readily available. But a few highlights that I would want to point out is our Start Here section. So Start Here is where you'll find the best practices on kicking off the stock market game with your students, including team roles handout that many of our users have found helpful in setting the tone for those working in groups. You'll find our rules of the stock market game. You'll find contact information for your coordinator and some preferred resources from our users to jumpstart the program. It's also where we will highlight any new additions to the Teacher Support Center. So it's always a good idea to give it a quick once over. Our events calendar, which is also there, will provide you with all of the details regarding any upcoming national professional development events, dates, topics, and links for our webinars, stock market game teacher mentor office hours, virtual lunch and learns, some important deadlines, and more. And where a number of our teachers spend the most time is our View Team Portfolio section. This is where you're able to view student team portfolio information for all of your registered classes within a particular game session. You'll be able to view their current total equity, the last date of their transaction, their current ranking, and a bit more. Another tile I want to highlight is our stock market game or SMG syllabus. So whether you have limited time or prep, or you simply want to jump right in, we've used the SMG syllabus to kind of lay it all out for you. The SMG syllabus section has everything you need for a seamless transition into the game. So the SMG Essentials syllabus is accessible to every single registered advisor, and it's a streamlined, accessible, user-friendly syllabus that's perfect for stock market game advisors across advisor types and subject types. So it was developed to enhance our goal of stock market game students being able to develop academic and life skills, including research, data analysis and interpretation, critical thinking and problem solving, teamwork and collaboration, importance of following current events, presentation skills, and creative thinking. So the SMG Essential Syllabus is outlined by topic across 10 weeks. So though you will have the opportunity to move at a pace that works best for you. So if you're able to introduce 2 or more topics per week, that's totally fine. If you have a topic but that you want to spread across a few weeks, that's totally fine too. But each topic will include a topic overview, a reference video, an applicable activity, and a reflection or discussion prompt. To complement the stock market game essential syllabus, that's for teachers to guide teachers or any advisor in launching the stock market game process, we have our stock market game essentials workbook. This is an activity-based workbook that enables students to learn the core stock market game topics. It follows a similar pace as the SMG essential syllabus, but speaks in a language that's directly to the student. It provides relevant articles and background that they can easily understand. There are quick videos to reinforce topics, and there are follow-up activities. So the SMG Essentials workbook can be easily integrated into this classroom experience, or it's a great tool for after-school groups, for parents, and it's perfect for independent instruction. So the SMG Essentials workbook and the SMG Essentials syllabus are meant to work together. Now, when we get into portfolio resources, all of the resources that I named, especially our activities and our videos, they're not only accessible to you as the advisor. Students can also access a number of these same resources directly within the stock market game portfolio. When your students log in with their student username and password, they can visit the resources tab found at the top of their portfolio to find information, including stock market game rules, those same mini lesson videos, glossary, and so much more. So in addition to our Teacher Support Center resources, which will have everything that you need to get started, you can also receive direct support throughout your stock market game experience from other stock market game teachers. So we have stock market game webinars, which are available weekly, and these cover everything from getting started and engaging students to more content-specific topics such as Stocks 101, diversification, asset management, or a number of others, and that's best suited for those that are really just looking to advance their own understanding of these financial instruments and how the stock market works so that you can better equip your students in the classroom. We also have stock market game office hours. They are available weekly via Zoom and hosted by a stock market game teacher mentor at the elementary, middle, and high school level. So these are drop-in sessions, and they give teachers the opportunity to speak directly to a stock market game teacher for guidance, some brainstorming, curriculum support, or just to generate some ideas. We also have our stock market game teacher Facebook group. It's a community of currently registered stock market game teachers, and it serves as a great way to share information about the stock market game, best practices, ask questions from other teachers who are participating in the game, and generate ideas from other teachers. It's really great whether you're brand new or you're a seasoned stock market game participant. So let's dive a little bit into the SMG portfolio and what to expect from there. So our stock market game trading portfolio has the same functionality as the online trading portfolios students will encounter once they're ready to make their own real-world investments. No, you have access to the portfolio post-registration once you receive the username and password to access the portfolio. This is what your students will be able to see and interact with. You as a teacher or advisor, you can also receive your own portfolio should you so decide to participate alongside your students, whether to demo how to utilize the game, whether you want to play alongside them in a competitive, healthy competitive way, or you just want to use it in advance of utilizing it with your students. So the functionality of the portfolio is very user-friendly. We'll do a deeper dive into the portfolio, making trades and getting started during tomorrow's session. But all of the functionality is meant to introduce students to investing, and they have the ability to learn as they go. So the SMG portfolio has easily accessible help pages on every single screen. You can literally walk yourself through not just how the portfolio functions, but also what some of these terms mean. If you're brand new to investing, there are terms that you're not sure the meaning of, or it's completely brand new to you or your students, most of the links have direct hyperlinks where you can embed and find out additional information about a particular term or process that you're doing. To access the stock market game portfolio, you can do so in two ways: directly through our website, stockmarketgame.org, and also via the Stock Market Game app, which is available via both the Apple and Google Play stores. So students can log in to access their portfolio by logging in with that username and password that you'll receive post-registration. A big question that we often receive is, can you change the username and password? You can change your password, both you as the advisor. Your students can also change their password should they so desire. But the username, because it's unique to a particular game session and linked to people individually, you cannot change your username. But feel free to change the password. If you're worried about your students changing their password and then forgetting them, rest assured, you can always access your student's password, even if they change them 8,000 times, through the Teacher Support Center. And if you ever forget your password, you can simply reach out to your local stock market game coordinator to retrieve it for you. Please rest assured that the functionality in terms of whether you're accessing the portfolio through the browser or through the app experience, it has the same trading ability. It's just a matter of personal preference. Is the Teacher Support Center password and our username the same thing? Yes. So you'll receive, once you register, a username and password as a teacher advisor. That is what gives you access to the Teacher Support Center. You'll also receive additional usernames and passwords for your students. And each username and password for students gives them access to the stock market game portfolio. During the registration process, you'll see two options: teach students/others and participate by myself. Teach students/others is for anyone who's going to utilize the program in a facilitator capacity, whether you're working with one student or one child or a group of children. If you're going to facilitate it in any way, you'll select that option. Participate by myself is for those individuals that are participating in the stock market game for their own use. So it's for adults who, I want to advance my own knowledge. Perhaps it's for teachers or mentors that want to have a greater understanding in advance of utilizing it, but it's for you on your own. If you're a teacher or other advisor that wants to not only teach the game, but also have a portfolio for yourself, you'll select both options. If you're a parent that's utilizing the program, it doesn't matter whether you select competitive or non-competitive. Your user options are the same. The functionality is the same. The only difference between competitive and non-competitive is that top teams in non-competitive divisions aren't eligible for prizes. That's the only difference. You can operate and register for either one, whether you're a parent, a teacher, or other. Yes, and again, you can access all of the videos for all of our sessions for the concurrent days will be available and recorded to everyone. Great question regarding cost. So the stock market game is available generally at no cost to most locations nationwide. There are a few areas where there is a cost, a nominal cost affected by team, but you can reach out to me directly and I can let you know. You can also reach out to your local stock market game coordinator if you have questions regarding cost. It's also available when you register. For those that are interested in, if you've already registered, but you're wondering, hey, I never received that email about usernames and passwords for your students, I think I forgot to add it. Usernames and passwords for students typically generate within an hour post-registration. So you'll receive 2 separate emails, 2 separate times. Your teacher username and password, you'll receive immediately via email. Student usernames and passwords typically generate within an hour or no later than end of day for sessions that are actively happening or happening within a 3-week window. In the event you've registered for a session that begins 3 weeks out, greater than 3 weeks out, you'll receive that username and password when you're within that 3-week window. So for example, if you are registering for a session that begins next week and you register today, you'll receive all of your details by end of day today. However, if I see a session for my location that's available and it doesn't begin until mid-March, but I can register right now, which is totally fine. I can register right now. I'll receive my teacher username and password right now after I register. But my student usernames and passwords, which gives them access to the portfolio, won't be sent to me until we're within that 3-week window before the game session is about to begin. Great. Okay, so getting into some student enhancements. And we were discussing InvestWrite, which is our national InvestWrite, and excuse me, our national essay competition that gives students in grades 4 through 12 the chance to really hone in on those newfound investment skills through writing, where they're tasked with creating solutions that address a financial scenario and apply that knowledge of investing in the creation of an essay that has the potential to earn them both state recognition and national recognition and prizes. It's available to all participating stock market game students in grades 4 through 12. There's absolutely no cost to participate in InvestWrite. Any of your stock market game students can participate and submit essays. You as the teacher submit the essays on their behalf, just like only adults and teachers can also register for the stock market game. Students should not be registering themselves for the stock market game. One thing that's actually important to note, and forgive me for not noting it earlier, is that you only need 1 registration for your students per game session. There's no need to register individual students. We don't collect any student information or student names. There's no need for that. All of our usernames and passwords are uniquely system generated. All you need to know is the number of portfolios you need. You enter your simple public information for your school and a contact if you're working within a school, if you're a teacher, if you're utilizing it personally as a parent, adult, or other with another group, then you'd enter your respective information. So anyone who is registered with the stock market game is eligible to participate in InvestWrite. The InvestWrite essay competition operates, there's a fall competition and there's a spring competition. The essay question typically launches and reveals itself let's see, we're in January now, it should be available in the next few weeks. We allow the game sessions to kind of kick off and get started before launching the InvestWrite question. And then the deadline is typically later on in the semester. So there are always fall winners and there are spring winners as well at both the state and national level. So for the state competition, there will be 1 winner per grade level: elementary, middle, and high school. State winners receive a state winner's trophy, a winner's medal, or winner's banner, a $100 gift card, and an InvestWrite swag bag that includes various items such as t-shirts, bottles, sunglasses, and more. And then at the national level, each grade level division, again, that's elementary, middle, and high school, will each have 1 first, second, and third place winner and 7 finalists. So awards can vary slightly for each competing grade division and at each level of placement, but they include things such as trophies, medals, banners, laptops, cameras, gift cards ranging from $100 to $250, pizza parties for the entire class, and more. One thing to note with InvestWrite, that there's no separate competition. It's not a state competition or national competition. Your submission of your student's individual essay counts towards both sides of it. So irrespective, there's no additional essay that needs to be written out to be considered for either. And you can find out more at any time at investwrite.org, or you can access InvestWrite information directly through the Teacher Support Center. And then we have Invest It Forward. And Invest It Forward is the bridge of the stock market game, where we take real learning and we apply it to real life. It's the face behind the industry and helps connect students to financial professionals of varied roles that not only helps them to reinforce the concepts that they've learned while playing the stock market game, but exposes them to new academic and career pursuits. So our Invest It Forward community is of thousands of financial professionals across the country that are actively working and also committed to personal finance and investment education. They work with our teachers and all of our advisors to help bring life to the stock market game. You can request a financial professional to connect with your students, whether virtually or in person, to enhance your stock market game experience. They can serve as leaders in terms of leading certain topics or assisting teachers with certain discussions. They can help provide just a panel or one person with some insight into careers in the financial services industry. There are a number of opportunities to host financial firm field trips, and it really just helps to bring SMGs to life. If there are opportunities within your school, if you're having a personal career fair that you think having a financial services industry professional present to add to that experience, you're more than welcome to do that. We've had some really interesting ways that teachers have come up with their own solutions to how to make this incredible for their students by utilizing financial professionals, other than coming in and discussing topics within the financial services industry. They've also done really creative things, such as there have been teachers that have created their own internal classroom stock market game competition. And then at the end, the students have to present their top portfolio or their top company, and the financial professionals serve as judges for their pitches. They've served as additional for award ceremonies at the school, where students who performed really well in personal finance received awards, and perhaps it was given by a financial professional. So even though there are specific topics and ways that we share, if you have an idea in which you think would really best serve your students to have a financial professional involved, please don't hesitate to let us know. One thing to note about Invest It Forward is that it is working with financial professionals who are working every single day. So we do ask a window of about 2 to 3 weeks to match you with your financial professional to ensure that there's enough time so they can properly allocate it. Financial professionals are available to connect both in the classroom with our students. It's not limited to teachers, however, or it's not limited solely to the classroom environment during school hours. If you have an after-school club that you would like to involve a financial professional, we can do that for you. If you meet on Saturdays with your particular group, we can do that for you as well. When you're requesting your volunteer, just give us as much information and detail as possible, and we work our hardest to meet that for you. So I know we've given a lot of information in a small amount of time, but it's just to level the playing field so you have all the information that you need about all of our programs, how they function, and how to get started. But all of them get started and begin at stockmarketgame.org and getting started for the stock market game. You must be involved in the stock market game in order to have access to all of the additional resources. I know there are a number of questions that can sometimes come up, so feel free to direct them to the chat, and I'll be happy to answer them. Over the next 2 days, we will dive into additional topics. Tomorrow's session at 4 p.m. as well, that's where we're doing the deep dive into the portfolio, how to kick things off with your students, what that looks like from start to finish, how to structure your classes, how much time you will need depending on how you're going to implement it, the difference between utilizing it from a semester versus the year long, and all of the tools you'll need to say like, hey, I've registered, now what? On Wednesday, we are focusing primarily on those that are looking to utilize the stock market game outside of the classroom environment. So if you're interested in how do I utilize the stock market game as a club, what does that look like? If I want to utilize it with, you know, my child or children at home, if you're a nonprofit, there are so many other ways to utilize the stock market game that operates a bit differently from the traditional classroom environment. So we're going to walk you through what that can look like for your unique space. So I'll pause there to answer questions. Feel free to direct them to the chat. But if you need to drop off, feel free to reach out to me at any point. My email address is on the screen at sbryant@sifma.org. You can also reach out to our national director, E. Rydell, at sifma.org, and you will be all set.